We're Team 6, and we're doing our Great Leader presentation on Ronald Reagan. I'm Jake.
I'm Chris. I'm Sean. Ryan. I'm Colby.
I'm Allie.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a short background on Ronald Reagan before he became the 40th President of the United States. He was born on February 6, 1911 in Tampico, Illinois. After that, he attended Eureka College in Eureka, Illinois, where he studied economics and sociology. There, he played football, as you can see in the picture. He also ran track, captained the swim team, served as the student body president, and performed in school productions. After he graduated, he became an actor, in which he appeared in 53 films, as well as making numerous television appearances. From 1947 to 1952, he served as the Screen Actors Guild president, where he actually met his wife, Nancy Davis. Following film, his political career took off. In 1964, he endorsed Barry Goldwater for president and gave a speech at one of his campaign rallies, which many people say is when his political career took off. After that, he served as governor of California from 1967 to 1975 before becoming president of the United States. The economic, foreign, and political environment of the late 1970s was a very tumultuous one. Reagan took office in the midst of a domestic economic concerns, the Iran hostage crisis, as well as the Cold War. High interest rates, high inflation, high unemployment, worries about an oil shortage, and fears for our national security ran rampant through the end of the 1970s. The Cold War was still going on. Russia had been making some moves, such as invading Afghanistan in 1979, as well as building up their arsenal and their forces to the point where they surpassed that of the United States. In a time like this, the United States needed a leader who could communicate effectively and could lead the nation with, be unwavering as he led the nation. Ronald Reagan was just that, and without making any excuses, he acted on his mission to guide the U.S. in the right direction, both foreign and domestically.
So we related Ronald Reagan's leadership principles to Lincoln on Leadership and the chapter Persuade Rather Than Coerce. Ronald Reagan was known as the great communicator. He was great at communicating his message to his followers and making sure that they were willing to follow that message. A big part of it was his delivery. They say it is the messenger and not the message. Ronald Reagan was very liked. He was a popular figure in the U.S. After he became president, he survived an assassination attempt. Prior to that, his approval rating was 73%, and it proved that among the American people, he was extremely well liked. And this was a big reason he was able to effectively communicate and deliver his message to the American people.
So we felt that Reagan really exemplified the Good to Great Chapter 3 by Jim Collins that focused on first who, then what, with getting the right people on the bus and the wrong people off of the bus. And I'd just like to show a short video that he gave a speech in his last debate against Jimmy Carter on October 28th, 1980.
Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Is it easier for you to go and buy things in the store than it was 4 years ago? Is there more or less unemployment in the country than there was 4 years ago? Is America as respected throughout the world as it was? If you answer all those questions, yes, why then I think your choice is very obvious. So who you vote for? If you don't agree, if you don't think that this course that we've been on for the last 4 years is what you would like to see us follow for the next 4, then I would suggest another choice that you have.
All right, these were fairly objective questions that Reagan asked the American public. Regardless of the American public's political affiliations or their political agendas, you were able to answer those questions by just simply looking back, taking a step back, and really evaluating the questions that he asked in your personal life. We also felt that Reagan was a level 5 leader. Jim Collins talks about how level 5 management focuses on first who, then what, while a genius with 1,000 helpers focuses on first what, then who. We as a group felt that so many American presidents have the genius with 1,000 helpers kind of mentality, and they'll focus on what they're going to do and implementing their policies instead of actually getting the right people in place. So Reagan really felt that if he wasn't saying necessarily that he was going to be the right person for the job, he wanted the American public to decide that, and they actually ended up voting him in to the 40th president. He was also good at delegating. He knew how to delegate accordingly and give jobs to the right people. He is quoted saying, "It's true, hard work never killed anybody, but I figure, why take the chance?" So I think that this is good about it exemplifies Stephen Covey's idea of sharpening the saw, because if he was able to delegate, he would be able to give other people that were good at certain jobs those positions and free up some of his time to do other things and focus on other important issues. So he would be able to put first things first and really focus on what he could do best.
So going along with Stephen Covey's 7 Habits for Highly Successful People, we thought habit 5 he exemplified very well, which was seek first to understand, then to be understood. Habit 5 is defined as use empathetic listening to be genuinely influenced by a person, which compels them to reciprocate the listening and take an open mind to being influenced by you. This creates an atmosphere of caring and positive problem solving. So, let's see, one of the skills that he picked up in while he was an actor was this thing called round tabling, and it's where you sit around and listen to everyone talk, and there's a specific example of him as a president, sitting around listening to all of his, all the people out on his board and things like that, talking, and then him understanding, first what they were wanting, and that compelled him to be able to create an idea, and also this atmosphere of everyone influencing each other allowed him to influence all the other people on his
board. As you know, Ronald Reagan was referred to as the great communicator. A key lesson we want you to take away with is to be a great communicator, and that's key to being a great leader. Let's take a couple minutes, and see this great communicator in action. It's a little bit more than Chris previously showed.
Today I say, as long as this gate is closed, as long as this scar of a wall is permitted to stand, it is not the German question alone that remains open, but the question of freedom for all mankind. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. They say we offer simple answers to complex problems. Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard around the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance.
The story was an American and a Russian arguing about their two countries, and the American said, look, in my country I can walk into the Oval Office, I can pound the president's desk and say, Mr. President, I don't like the way you're running our country. And the Russian said, I can do that. The American said, you can? He says, yes. I can go to the Kremlin, to the General Secretary's office, pound his desk and say, Mr. General Secretary, I don't like the way President Reagan's running his country.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
But as soon as I get home to California, I plan to lean back, kick up my feet, and take a long nap. Now, come to think of it, things won't be all that different after all.
As you can see, President Reagan was quite the communicator. He used a couple elements that really made him very effective. First of all, when he spoke, he was full of emotion and passion while always appearing sincere. Many times his message was simple and straightforward. At his first cabinet meeting, he walked in and said, "Gentlemen, I hate inflation, I hate taxes, and I hate the Soviets. Do something about it," and then walked out. That was it. He was wildly popular for his use of sense of humor, and used it as a mechanism to connect with the people. And lastly, and most importantly, he was clear with his message, often using anecdotes and stories and narratives when necessary for clarification. He used these techniques to persuade and inspire the American people and the citizens around the world. He was a natural communicator, but he constantly worked at it. Being an actor helped him quite a bit, but again, he constantly worked at it. He wanted to become an effective leader like his idols, Abraham Lincoln and FDR. He prepared intensively for his speeches. He had 2 stacks of 3x5 note cards in which he was full of anecdotes and jokes. And something that you really can't see out of this video, but he was also a great listener. And as managers, as leaders, as CEOs, as anybody leading people, we really need to communicate effectively to our peers, subordinates, and our superiors, and while always believing truly in our cause. Only then can we eliminate the misunderstandings and effectively move into the future.
So in summary, there's a few things we can take away from President Reagan that we learned today. By persuading rather than coercing, Reagan's charisma was key to his success. We can use this principle in our own lives by remembering to always sell ourselves, and if you're a likable person, you're going to be successful. By getting the right people on the bus, we should surround ourselves with successful people who are going to push us further rather than pull us down. Reagan convinced the American people that he was the right person for the job in the speech that you saw earlier. When we seek first to understand, then to be understood, it's important to sit back and listen to others' opinions before formulating our own responses. And the most important lesson we learned from Reagan is to communicate effectively. Have a strong presence in using motion in your speech. Use humor to connect with your peers, and utilize the power principles we've learned in this class. We would like to challenge you as a class to communicate as Reagan did by incorporating these lessons into your own lives. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you.